Let's talk about your dojo, your holy or your sacred place. It's a reflection of you. So, yes, your body is a temple, but your environment is a reflection of what is going on in your internal life. And this is statistically proven. There have been countless psychological, psychotherapy, and just all sorts of journals that have articles about how your environment affects your mindset, mental health, and mood. Now, very important. I'm not saying this to shame you. If you have lived in survival mode, are low energy, has struggled with any sort of mental health or emotional or even just like lifetime and energy difficulties, your space is always going to reflect that as well. So this isn't this isn't a guilt trip, and it's not to shame you. We want to use this mechanism, and we want to use it well. Meaning, how do we hack this so that you feel better? How do we use the outside to affect the inside and the inside to affect the outsides? So let's get into it. In history, we all had, like, it was a cultural norm to create space for sacredness, the connection of awe and life and wonder. There are temples, there were altars, there were graveyards and churches, and these were a part of daily life for a long time. Fast forward to now, and people have all sorts of struggles with dogma and time and history of different locations and churches and religions. And also, we need to connect to whatever it is that makes us feel connected to life every single day. And that needs to be a part of your living space. And this is what we're going to take mastery over first. So before we start to worry about the actual cleanliness of your home or organization or anything like that, we want to have a little spot for sacredness for you. And this is where you can do your mindset work, where you can do your meditation work, where you can pray, where you can connect, where you can do your reading, where you can do this homework here, or even just watch the videos. You want to have one little spot that is clean and lovely and feels really, really good to be in. So here's a couple of pictures. Different houses, different spaces, different cities have different amounts of place that you can allocate for this kind of work. So on the bottom, there's just a windowsill. Like, I live in a huge city of like, what is it, like 3 million people? We don't have big apartments here. So sometimes you only have a windowsill. And if you have a windowsill, make that beautiful. You could even use dry erase markers and write motivational quotes on your window. Have one space that you can see and walk by every day, because you want it to be this daily reminder of how you're connected to a bigger picture. Life isn't just about all these like tasks that we have to do every day. You are a sacred thing, you're a holy thing. And when you see and have a lovely space that is welcoming, it's more attractive to do the work that you need to do to actually heal and grow. If you can have a plant, if you can have a picture, crystals, your prayer book, or whatever it is that makes you feel connected and whole. Maybe your journal there, a nice soft blanket. Have that. You want this to be a welcoming place that you can come back to again and again. This is a method if you are in survival mode, if you are in low energy mode, if you have a lot of demands on your time, or if you're not feeling well. These are the ways to help you organize and clean if you have depression, time issues, ADHD, whatever else is going on with you. These are just some tips and tricks to help you clear out your space using the energy that you have without feeling guilt or shame about it. So, if you have limited time, resource, and you're looking at your space, you want to always start with garbage, and then you want to move on to dishes, clothes, tidy, doom box, and then sort and organize the doom box. So you can even have a timer, right? If you know you have 15 minutes of energy before you completely collapse, look around the house, put the timer on, and get all the garbage out and just deal with that first. We want to deal with sanitary and health issues before we're looking at like how beautiful everything is. So get the garbage first. Then get the dishes out of your sleeping space. Then move the clothes. And then after that, if you have the energy and have done all that, then you get into tidying and making things look pretty. So, number five, what is a doom box? I'm so glad you asked. So, as someone who has ADHD, a doom box is when you're cleaning your room, you're organizing your room, and there's all those little straggly things that don't really have a place yet, or they just don't belong in the space that you're cleaning. You want to put them all in one space and deal with them later, particularly if you have like low energy or limited time or limited attention span. You want to put them all in one place to be dealt with later. And yes, you need to set aside time, that's number six, to actually organize and sort the doom box. So this is last on the level. You want to make things first be sanitary, second be pleasing, and then third have more of a practical place where it's actually things are useful to you. This here is the doom box method. It's good if you have children, if you have a lot of clutter, if you have maybe a bigger space or more stuff, if you are helping someone go through their estate, downsizing, moving, anything like that. In my instance, we have a ADHD family. I use this method also when helping move my mom from her hoarding house. So it works for intense things and it works for daily life things. Essentially, when you're done, like what we said in the previous thing, when you're done, garbage, dishes, clothes, tidy. The doom box is last. So you want to keep everything in the room that belongs in that room. And then you're going to organize it. So the doom box is to help you get control of the area. And it is a one box. These are clear so that you can see what's in them. You could have like beautiful IKEA ones or wicker ones. I think there's one even like something like this, or even like smaller ones like these that kind of work with your space. You could do that. If you have ADHD or are neurodiverse, the clear ones are good because often it's out of sight, out of mind, or if you're very, very busy, then the clear ones are better. But the whole point of the doom box is just to get control of the area. So after you're done tidying that area or cleaning that area, everything that doesn't belong there goes into this box, and then you sort it later. You're prioritizing your time and you're prioritizing your energy. When you have time, that's when you sort through the doom box. And these boxes, they help you set aside that everything that doesn't belong in that space, and you want to work for convenience. So what I mean by that, if it's convenient to have it in that room and that space, keep it in that area. Otherwise, find another place for it. Um, this you can see that she is sorting, and we'll get into that. In general, you want to keep like things together unless it's you need like two different like scissors for the kitchen and scissors for the office. Like that would be like having two different places for scissors. But if that isn't convenient for you, then keep all your scissors in one place. It sounds really silly, but I have seen people spend way more money than they need to and have doubles and triples and quadruples of stuff because they can't find their things. So you want to keep like things together. It saves you time and money. And then when you're sorting the doom box, same thing. Sort into what is garbage, what is giveaway or belongs to someone else, what is a memento and needs to be stored in a different place or maybe put in a frame or something. What are important papers, what you still what is in that room but actually needs to be somewhere else, seasonal, and then craft and projects. So essentially just putting everything like together and sorting it after. It's like a secondary step so that you know what you're dealing with. And when a room is completely out of control, this is such a helpful state. And when you do this, it feels like utter chaos and it actually is messy, but it helps it be cleaner for longer and will help organize your mind too and get into the practice of knowing what is easier for you to go in what place. Remember, this is for you, it's not according to anyone else's rules, but you do want to have your space feeling good for you, being clean for you, clean mind, clean heart, clean space, clean spirit. And when it comes to getting rid of things, give yourself permission. Sometimes it's hard for us to let go of actual stuff, particularly if you have a history of poverty. One one joke my best buddy, like my soul sister, and I have is finding stuff on the side of the road. Like, tell me you're poor without telling me you're poor. If you are always looking for treasure along the side of the road, it's because you don't feel like you have the opportunity to buy something new. If you don't feel like you have the ability to replace something, you are more likely to hold on to it. Like my grandparents were alive in the prairies during the Great Depression and World War II. So going through their things was just an absolute nightmare because that psychological need to hold on to things because you don't feel like like new things will be available to you. You don't feel like you are provided for. You don't feel like you're safe. And as part of creating safety can be holding on to stuff. And this is where our physical items have much more meaning to us than just clutter. And you can't just be mad at someone for having clutter. There's often a lot going on. So if this is a trigger for you, if this is a hot issue for you, if this is an overwhelming thing for you, I do want to talk about it, and not in a way that makes you feel bad, but in a way that is actually serving you, because there's usually a reason behind it. You're not crazy. This isn't madness. There's a logical, an emotional, logical reason behind absolutely everything we do. And when we figure that out, we can crack the code and make you feel better about letting things go. So you want to start in one room or area. So this is textbook hoarding recovery or clutter bug recovery. Start in one room area and get mastery over that. You want to maintain it from there. So even if the entire house goes to uh, looks like there's a hurricane, or just looks like somebody robbed us, and this was way harder after kids, but I would always have one spot where I knew would be clean. And this is, not only does it make me feel like I have more control over my life, but it kind of bleeds out into everything else. When we feel mastery in one area of life, it actually builds out into other areas of life. And that control over the rest of the place gets easier, but you need to start small and build from there. This is how competency works. This is how confidence works. When we feel we can help one area of life, we feel more competent and confident to increase and grow from there. I would start with kitchen or bathroom, somewhere where it's more important to be clean. So if we go back to here, after you've done the original purging or cleaning or whatever, you can set like 4 times a year. This is why we do spring cleaning, but create the rule. So if you know that you're really tired at the end of the day and you put socks on the floor, and the socks soon have a pair of underwear that kind of goes on top of the socks and the shirt and the pants, and it just kind of gives that permission for clutter. When you create the rule that no matter how tired you are, you can just toss them into hamper and have the hamper or laundry basket nearby so it's convenient for you, then you create the rule, then you create the habit, then you know that it gets easier over time. These are elements of self care that are not as sexy, but they are so important because they help you with your mental health. You do want to work with your own cycles. So don't go on a purge clean because you feel like you feel guilty or shame when you literally don't have the energy for it and you won't be able to go to work the next day. Work with your own cycles. Do the purging when you know you'll have more energy. Like if you have seasonal depression, this is why we do it in spring. Often, many of us have seasonal depression disorder, especially in the West where it's like really dark and rainy. This is why we have spring cleaning. We work with the sun, work with your own energy flows. Prioritize, keep the main thing. And this is why we have this list. Prioritize garbage dishes, all those sort of things. Prioritize the room, that people will come and visit you in. And this is very important, reward yourself for your process. Acknowledge how hard you've been working. And so the practical stuff is very important, but there is actually a spiritual element, and we'll talk about like cleaning your aura, cleaning your spirit, and that as well. So that will be in no, let's do it in this video. It's all part of the same thing. So I mentioned that there is an energetic element to cleaning, a magical or spiritual element to cleaning. Even the symbol for, a witch or a wise woman is the broom, right? Cleaning out bad energies, sweeping away things. Like when we add that intention, you add a little bit of weight to like even just sweeping out the dirt. And when we remind ourselves that this is part of a bigger picture where we eliminate what doesn't serve us, we clean our space, we clean our mind, we clean our body all the time. This is a part of being mastery of who we are. And it is actually one of the boundaries that we hold with ourselves, our boundary of personal cleanliness, our boundary of space cleanliness. And it represents the boundary of like energetic space. Who are you going to allow in your home? And this is your mental health practices as well. The clearing of this space, allowing yourself to have room, to have a beautiful place to be in, to read your books, to meditate, to just sit with who you are and have your space reflect your tastes, your joy, what you love, the colors you like, the textures that you want to have around you, the food and the dishes and the candles and the scents and the soap and the clothes that you like. They're all representations that can be physically seen of what is going on the inside of your heart. And as we grow, our space grows with us, right? We get rid of things that are old and worn out, and we bring in new things that kind of speak to our life. This prevents stagnation. It's also a representation of how you are always growing and expanding and changing. And it's also how we control the current of wealth, and it leads to that spirit of increase when we it's I actually often think of it like a garden. When you weed out everything that is stealing nutrients from the ground, you create space to grow the plants that you want. When you weed out the things that are worn out and broken, you have space to really appreciate the things that you have. And if we move on from there to cleanse our aura and our spiritual space, that exercise at the beginning, that energy hands exercise, that's part of this mindset too. You can use that current that you create in your hands just to clean your aura. Remind yourself of your own power, that you can get rid of anything in your own like personal space, in your spiritual space, in your mind space that doesn't belong there, with that electrical current that you have created in your own hands. The violet flame, it I I know so much about it and I'm really passionate about it. It's really hard to just talk like two sentences. But essentially, the violet flame is from Eastern Europe, where Eastern religion meets Western religion. So it has like this influence of mysticism, the chakra system, as well as Catholicism. So it's kind of like this ritual cleaning and energetic clearing of space that also brings in channeling and all that kind of stuff. But essentially, it is like a prayer or a chant to clear your aura and your space and to call in healing and whatever else that you want. Gateway is more of a secular approach to this, where the CIA actually worked with meditation with their operatives, and they worked with just clearing your mind and your space. And this essentially is when you're meditating, you want to clear out any old or stagnant energy that's going to weigh you down and affect your decision making. And they do that with voices. You'll hear a lot of monks chant as well. That humming, that om that they do, that creates a vibration in your throat that actually activates part of your nervous system. It vibrates it, and it gets you from that lethargic, they call it the dorsal fin. It gets you from that lethargic kind of like when the animal just lays down and dies, into more your parasympath you're going to the sympathetic nervous system, where you're more engaged and able to make cognitive rational decisions. So that's where the chanting comes. But it's also like a visualization of imagining like a light coming from the top of your head down to the bottom of your feet. And it's just, it can be a cognitive reminder that this is your personal space and boundary. It's an energetic and spiritual reminder, especially if you're into astral travel, lucid dream, or whatever, that this is your space. There is requirements, energetic and spiritual requirements, to do business with you, and you're only interested in that for your best and highest good, and the best and highest good of those that do life with you. My indigenous ancestors and relatives, and even there's a Celtic practice of smudging and seining. So smudging would be more the indigenous, seining would be more the Celtic approach, either using smoke or feathers to clear the air and the spirit. Crystals, having a bath, there's that psychological imagery of washing everything from you and actually cleaning the space of bad energy. Noise and bells, bells on the door of like, again, announcing the arrival of guests, or like this is a space. Anything that is entering in your space, the when you open the door, the bell rings, and so that you have that acknowledgement of you can choose to let them in or out. And it's a psychological and a spiritual reminder that you can allow things into your life, into your space, or you can refuse their entry. Sound, like I was saying with the chanting, and your word. Do not underestimate the power of your word. Not only is it powerful energetically and spiritually, but it is psychologically too. And when we look at the I am phrases from, the Wayne Dyer to Abraham Hicks to Jesus, the I am. Who are you? Your word is enough. Like, I am healthy, I am wealthy, I am wise, I am worthy, I am good enough. Or this is the opposite of when we need to say to ourselves, be still, or I am done. Or how about this one? No. Your word is powerful, and that's a part of your boundaries. And then you can get into like baneful magic and hexes and stuff too, and say what you will about it, but there is a phrase in Wicca where you need to hex to heal, and that is to cut out that which steals and robs from you in order to truly heal. If you think about cutting out the cancer so that your body can recover, it starts so small. It starts with these small things of cutting out all the things that are bad for you. And this is where cleaning is one representation of a bigger whole. And you'll hear me use this phrase over and over again. How we do one thing is how we do everything. That approach we take with us in what we allow in our home is often the same of what we allow in our personal life, how we allow other people to treat us, how we show up in work, how we show up in relationships. So how we do one thing is often how we do many things, just because that's how the brain works. We are hardwired and conditioned to do this. It's also how energy works. Like, water will flow down to the easiest path. Same with energy, same with our own electrical currents, our own neurons, our own patterns of being. We go to the easiest way. So when we are creating massive changes, it almost like it can feel overwhelming and exhausting because we're going to go through all these different areas of life, but it will end up being easier because we are making a new path that you will automatically go down towards.